Hey everyone, Joshua Baines here, and today in this video I'm going to look at what the difference is between serviced accommodation and buy-to-let. Now, you might have just taken a property on, you might be looking at purchasing a property, and you might be wondering, is serviced accommodation going to bring you in more money than just putting it on as a regular AST and having a tenant in there on maybe a 6-month contract or a year's contract? You might be wondering. So what I'm going to do today in this video is I'm going to pick a random property. I'm just going to go on Rightmove. The first property I find, I'm going to click on it, I'm going to have a look at it. Hopefully it's a decent property and we can get some good numbers from it. And we're going to go through what would you earn from a buy-to-let from that property and what would you earn if you use that property as serviced accommodation. Now, these numbers are just going to be my estimates, so please, if you are going to do this, do your own due diligence and look into it yourself. But I'm just going to give you an example today and go through what numbers I would expect to look at from whichever property you find. So without further ado, let's get onto Rightmove and let's start looking for a property. Okay, so we have got onto Rightmove, and for the sake of this video I'm going to look at Cardiff, purely because we already manage properties there. We've got quite a few properties in Cardiff and I know the area pretty well. So we're going to have a look at Cardiff. Before you pick an area, you need to make sure that you know the area quite well. You know where the good parts are, where the not so good parts are, and you need to know that it's a decent area that you want to be in. So Cardiff is where we're going to go today. So we're currently looking in the city centre. We're just going to drop this down a little bit so that we've got more to look at. For this video I'm looking at houses. Apartments work very well, we've got a lot of apartments, but we're going to look at houses just to see what it is about. So we've got 2-bed and 4-bed, anything in between, and we've got houses selected. So here's one that's just come up. This one is actually on a street called Bradley Street. We actually already have a property there. So this one would be really easy for me to look at, but just for the sake of the video, I'm not going to go with what we know, and I'm going to go with a different one. So we need to make sure that it's a property that's fairly central. So this area I know isn't very central, it's probably a little bit too far out. This one, I don't know where that street is, so we're going to have a look and see. So it looks like it's somewhere that could be fairly central just from looking at the house. Let's have a look. So this is an area called Roath, which is actually quite central. We've actually got a few properties already in the area. So that is a good area. That's an area that would, in my opinion, work for serviced accommodation. So it's not that far out the city centre. It's got good transport links in. We can see that here from the main roads that are connecting Cardiff to everywhere else. You can see that there's a very clear route into the property. So it's got good transport links. It's got a recreation ground behind it and some gardens and things like that, which is nice. It's close to, this looks like a little high street and some shops, so it's got lots of amenities around it. So this, in my opinion, would work very well for serviced accommodation. That's just me looking at the area. So what we need to do now is have a look at some numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look on Rightmove properties to rent and see if I can find one that's close to this property. So I'm going to look at Roath, which is the area that this other property was in that we were looking at. And I'm going to see what's currently available for rent, and I'm going to look at let agreed properties to see what has already been let. Okay, so we can remember we were looking at a 2-bed terrace house, so we're going to look at just 2-bed houses. I want to make this as clear cut as possible. So let's see if we can find any 2-beds. So this is a flat, so I'm just going to change this so we're on houses. Let's look at specifically terrace houses and make this as close as possible to what we're looking for. So we can see we've got a Roth selected here, and we've got a couple here. So we've got 975. Again, that looks in pretty good condition. I'm not sure whether we looked at the condition of this one actually. Okay, so this one, it looks like it probably would need a little bit of work to get it into good condition. So in my opinion, depending on a lot of things, if the boiler needed doing on electrics, I think you'd probably be spending upwards of 20,000 to get this in good condition. But we're just going to take it anyway and just have a look at some numbers. So if it were in good condition, by the looks of it, you'd be renting this out for somewhere between around sort of 975, 925, 900, 825. So these are all terrace houses. There's a nice one there for 1,100. There's 1,000, that's 850. So I think if you made this property really nice and did a brand new refurb on it, I think you'd be looking at somewhere around the £1,000 mark for this property if you made it really, really nice. So again, you'd have to put some money into this, but let's work with that. So if you rented it out on an AST just to a regular tenant on this property in that location, you'd probably be getting somewhere around the £1,000 mark. Now, out of that, you've got to take your letting agent's fees, any maintenance you need to do, and any other kind of bits and bobs that come with the property. So by the time you've taken off your agency fees, they're normally around sort of 10%. So that's going to bring you down to 900. Anything else, you might have maintenance, even if that's another 10%, but we're gonna leave that for now. So let's say you bought this property, did it to a great condition, and then passed it to a letting agent at 10% to manage it. You'd be taking home £900 a month off this property. That's without your mortgage and everything like that. We're just gonna take it as a gross figure. So on a buy to let, we've got £900. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna go to Airbnb and see what this property would bring you if you were to use it for serviced accommodation. So we're going to look again in Cardiff, and we're going to look for 2-bed houses, anything sort of a 2-bed terrace house that's in good condition. So we're going to have a look down here and see what we can find basically. So we'll have a look through Airbnb. We're going to look for 2 beds. So there's a 2-bed. That looks like a nice 2-bed. That's in great condition. That's over the other side of Cardiff by the looks of it. Here's one of ours actually, JTV Stays. We've got 2-bed houses in the area. 2-bed rooms with 3 beds in. As you can see, ours is down here a little bit. Roth is over here. So we're looking for anything over here really. So let's zoom in to this area a little bit and see what we can find. So these are apartments. We need to make sure we've got houses. Apartment, townhouse. Again, that's one of ours. So I'm not going to go with ours just so that you can see it's not me being biased, but this is the sort of standard you want to be at for service accommodation. So you see nice furniture, plenty of room in there. So again, this is a 2-bed house. It's close to Roth, but again, I don't want to use ours just so that it's not biased. So we're going to try and find somebody else's 2-bed house. If I can't find one, we'll have to use ours, but I'd rather not. So the house we were looking at was roughly there, I think. That's a 1-bed flat. Let's see if any of these are 2-bed houses. That's a flat by the looks of it. That's an entire apartment. That's a studio. That's a 1-bed. Oh, that's an apartment. That looks like an apartment. Flat. Apartment. As you can see, there's a lot of apartments. That's an apartment. Let's see if there's any over here. Let's start looking in some streets. That's an apartment. that look, okay, so that's a house, that looks decent. This is a 2-bed house, so this is good. So this is hosted by Kath, and we're not sure how many properties Kath has. I'm just going to see if I can find that out, because if you're managing it with a proper, like, professional management company, you'll normally find that you probably earn a little bit more money. Okay, so Kath's only got 10 reviews, which makes me think she's only got 1 property, but we're going to have a look anyway and just see what Kath is advertising her property at. Okay, so as we can see here, Kath looks like she's doing pretty well. She's got plenty of dates booked. So we're going to look at a weekend first and see. Okay, Kath's got a 3-night minimum, so we're going to look at a weekend first and see what Kath is charging for a weekend. So £107 a night if you want to stay on a weekend. There's a service fee as well, but Airbnb keep that, so we're going to forget about the service fee because that's gone. So £107 per night Kath is charging to stay in her property. In my experience, I'd probably say that's ever so slightly on the low side, especially for a weekend, but we're going to go with it. So let's just look at a weekday as well, just to see if there's any difference. £105 a night, so it's roughly the same. So let's work on those figures. £105 per night. We're going to forget about the service fee, as I said. Airbnb are going to keep that fee. But let's look at £105 per night. So what we're going to do now, we're going to log off here and we're going to jump over to the whiteboard and go through some figures. Okay, so we found our property, we've looked at the numbers, now we need to really crunch some numbers and see what are we actually going to earn from this property. So again, this was a 2-bed in Cardiff, just one that we've randomly found on Rightmove, and we're going to look at what is this property going to produce. So we looked at this property and said if we had this on a normal AST for a normal tenant, maybe a 6-month tenancy or maybe a year's tenancy, we looked at it and we discovered that we'd probably be earning roughly £800 a month. That was for an AST. So £800 a month on an AST. Now, we looked at what else was in the area. I'm going to change colour so that we can see this. We looked at what else was in the area on Airbnb. Now, normally you do a lot more due diligence than this, but we just took a very quick look at what's in the area. We found that there's a lady down the road that has a property that's currently renting out on Airbnb for £105 per night. I'm going to put PN, just so we know, that's per night. So if we're getting £105 per night, what are we actually going to make in a month? Now, serviced accommodation is a little bit different because to do serviced accommodation, you've got to pay your own bills, you've got to pay for cleaning, you've got to pay for linen, and you've basically got to run it a little bit like a hotel. So guests basically check in and check out and they pay you one fee and you've got to cover everything in that fee. So this £105 a night includes bills, it includes cleaning, it includes toilet rolls, biscuits, teas, coffees, linen, everything in this £105 per night. So we need to look at what else is this actually going to cost us. So I haven't taken the mortgage or anything like that into account on this, we're just looking at gross numbers. So you might have a mortgage, you might have other things you need to pay. But in terms of bills, I've had a look and I think you're going to be paying about £390 a month in bills on this property. So those bills include your council tax or business rates, because normally you put it on business rates. This includes your business rates, your gas, your electric, your water, your Wi-Fi, maybe your gardener. That's basically included. So £390 in bills. You've also got cleaning fees. Now, cleaning fees depend very much on what bookings you're getting and how often you're getting them. So there's going to be no fixed cleaning fee, it just depends on what you're actually getting in terms of bookings. There is, however, a 15% normally management fee. That's not the one I want to do. 15% management. So whereas on a buy to let you normally have 10%, service accommodation you're normally paying 15%. Now we charge 15%, some people charge less, some people charge more, but I'm just going to go with what I know. So 15%. Now serviced accommodation, because you haven't got a fixed tenant in there, we work on a thing called occupancy, which is how occupied is your property. In other words, how many nights a month are people in your property? How many nights are you getting paid this £105? Because when the property is empty, you don't get paid. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at different percentages of occupancy. So if you were full every day of the month, you'd be at 100% occupancy. If you were full half the days in a month, you'd be at 50% occupancy. So we normally work on an average of 50%, 75% and 100% when we do our numbers. So on this property, again, we've just looked at some random numbers. These are very, very rough numbers. On this property, at 50% occupancy, so if you were occupied half the days in a month, which to be honest is low for service accommodation, you would be earning £723 from this property. Remember, this is including bills, this is including the management, and I've also put cleans in here as well. So the cleans differ depending on how many nights. So £723, which is less, only just, but less than the AST. Now at 75% occupancy, you would actually be earning £1,243 and something pence, but £1,243 from this property. So you can already see you're at an increase of £443 from a normal AST, which in a month, that is a very significant figure. That's almost 50% extra. In fact, that's more than 50% extra than an AST. At 100%, which if you could keep it at 100%, I'll hire you. But if you get 100% every month, which is unheard of, but if you get a month booking, in that month where you're getting 100%, you'd be looking at £1,837. That's a huge figure. That's more than double what you'd get on an AST. So hopefully this helps. So this is giving you a rundown. We've gone on Rightmove, we found a random property which was a 2-bed in Cardiff. We found that you'd be normally earning about £800 a month on AST, and we can see what you'd earn from service accommodation. Hopefully that gives you the skills to now go out and have a little bit of a look at what you'd earn from your property. I would always recommend, if you want to do service accommodation, use a management company and get in touch with that management company before you even buy the property, and ask what their opinion of it is before you buy, because they'd always help. So they'll be able to give you these numbers as an estimate, and you can really have a look at, is it worth doing service accommodation or is it worth doing an AST? I really hope that helps you guys. If you want any information, if you want me to do some numbers like this for you, if you're looking to buy a property, please get in touch with me at joshua@jtbstays, or you can go to our website. I look forward to hearing from you. I really hope this helps. Drop me a comment and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Thank you.